Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you've ever looked at a massive modern supply chain and thought, how on earth do these businesses scale up without completely collapsing under the weight of all that logistical chaos? Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to totally demystify one of the absolute most critical engines of global commerce. We are breaking down everything you need to know about transportation management systems, or, as you'll usually hear it called, a TMS. Let's get into it.
Transportation looks simple, right up until it isn't. Okay, let's dive into this, because I absolutely love this quote. To anyone sitting outside the industry, moving a box from point A to point B, it seems incredibly straightforward, almost easy, right? But if you actually work in logistics, oh man, you know the painful daily grind. It's just a world of constant, totally unpredictable variables. A world where a seemingly flawless, perfect plan can unravel in a literal matter of minutes.
Just think about the messy reality of what actually happens out there on the ground. Picture this, you've got a shipment totally ready to go, and bam, your primary carrier rejects the load at the absolute last minute. Or, hey, maybe the driver arrives early. Good news, right? Nope, because your loading dock is already occupied, and now you've got a massive bottleneck. What if a customer abruptly changes their delivery slot? Or actually, this is my personal favorite, an invoice lands on your desk with 3 extra completely unexplained charges. These aren't just hypotheticals. These are the highly specific, incredibly stressful realities that logistics teams have to battle every single day.
So how do we fix it? Well, here is our roadmap for this explainer to untangle all this chaos step by step. First, we'll look at the chaos of logistics. Then, what a TMS actually is, followed by how it works in practice. After that, we'll hit the core benefits, and finally, we'll wrap up with implementation and those nasty pitfalls you need to avoid.
Starting off with part 1, the chaos of logistics, and really the sheer cost of manual coordination. Think spreadsheets, scattered inboxes, relying on someone's memory. It's a fragmented, wildly expensive way to run an operation.
Which brings us to part 2. What exactly is a TMS? This is where we start bringing order to the journey. Let's look at the magical weapon that actually tames all this chaos.
So, a transportation management system, at its core, is software used to manage the physical movement of goods. Basically, it takes this massive, tangled jumble of data, we're talking your shipment requirements, carrier info, strict delivery rules, and complex cost data, and it instantly turns it all into a clear, executable plan. Honestly, at its simplest level, this software really just exists to answer 4 key questions for you. How should this shipment move? Who should carry it? What should it cost? And finally, did the delivery actually go as planned? And this brilliantly illustrates exactly where TMS fits into your broader tech stack, especially when you compare it to a WMS, or warehouse management system. Just think of the physical boundary of your building, okay? The WMS controls everything happening inside the warehouse. Picking, packing, staging the goods, the whole shebang indoors. But the exact second those goods hit the loading dock, the WMS stops and the TMS takes the baton. The TMS controls the journey outside. It handles carrier selection, routing, timing, and tracking all the way right to the customer's front door. All right, part 3, how a TMS works. We are shifting from abstract definitions to the physical reality of following the shipment lifecycle. Let's trace a single load moving from A to B. There are 4 main steps in this life cycle, and the TMS is handling messy, real-world variables at every single one of them. First up is shipment planning and optimization. The software looks at origin, destination, weight, and those strict delivery windows, and it might even magically combine orders to build fuller loads or sequence stops for maximum efficiency. Step 2 is carrier selection and rate management. Obviously, price matters, but the system is also evaluating capacity, transit times, and past performance before ever sending that load out via an API or EDI connection. Step 3 is freight execution and tracking. This is where it captures live data from GPS and driver apps. And finally, Step 4, delivery confirmation and reporting. This is where the TMS records the proof of delivery, calculates the final charges, and measures exactly how that carrier performed against your expectations.
Now, let's pause for a second on that tracking phase, because I really want to highlight this surprising insight. The point is not to watch every truck move, it is to spot the one that has stopped moving. I mean, wow, that is such a crucial mindset shift. Effective logistics is absolutely not about micromanaging every single vehicle out there on the highway. It's about exception management. A truly good TMS filters out all the normal, everyday noise so you only spend your precious time dealing with the anomalies, the delayed shipments that actually require a human being to step in and fix things.
And this intense need for exception management, it applies everywhere.
There is this huge misconception out there that only massive Fortune 500 corporations need a TMS. But honestly, it is operational complexity, not just the size of a company, that creates this urgent need. Look at these pressure points across completely different sectors. In manufacturing, one single late component can literally halt a multi-million-dollar production line. In retail and e-commerce, it's all about surviving wild seasonal peaks and incredibly narrow delivery windows. Food and beverage? They're dealing with short shelf lives and super strict temperature controls. There is literally zero room for drift there. And in healthcare, shipments are often incredibly urgent, high value, and require strictly documented handovers. The takeaway here: if your network has tight constraints, you need a system to manage them, completely regardless of how big your company's revenue is.
Moving right along to part 4, the core benefits. Let's talk about the payoff, specifically the compounding value of small savings you get when you finally ditch all that manual coordination.
Because the real benefits go way, way beyond just a single dramatic cost reduction. First off, a TMS strips away all that routine coordination that quietly, stealthily eats up a logistics team's entire day. It automates tenders and alerts, so your planners can actually focus on complex, tricky shipments. You also get super tangible savings from better route optimization and fuller loads. It's like magic. Waste literally disappears in small pieces over thousands of trips. Plus, it gives you a shared version of the truth across teams. No more customer service reps desperately chasing down transport colleagues trying to figure out where a box is. But honestly, perhaps most importantly, it uncovers uncomfortable patterns. The data exposes bad habits that are otherwise super easy to ignore. Like finding out a specific route constantly generates massive detention fees, or realizing that the quote-unquote cheap carrier you use is habitually late, which is actually costing you more in the long run.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the reality of what this software actually costs. When you're evaluating the total cost of ownership, that headline subscription fee you see, it is just the tip of the iceberg. The true overall cost includes integration, data migration, rigorous testing, employee training, and oh yeah, major data cleanup. The absolute lowest monthly software fee, absolutely, 100%, does not guarantee the lowest total cost, especially not if it forces you into massive manual workarounds or just completely refuses to integrate properly with your existing systems.
And that brings us to part 5, implementation and pitfalls, avoiding the potholes. Because let's be real, enterprise projects like this can and do fail, and we need to talk transparently about why.
Before you even think about implementing a new system, you really have to internalize this powerful concept. A TMS cannot rescue bad data or vague processes. Automating confusion simply makes it travel faster. I mean, hit the nail on the head, right? This is absolutely crucial to understand. Software is just an engine. It's incredibly powerful, sure, but it is not a magic cure for fundamentally broken underlying processes. If you feed it garbage data, it's just going to execute that garbage at lightning speed.
So let's look closely at these specific implementation potholes so you can avoid falling into them yourself. Trap number 1, selecting software based only on price. We just touched on this, but fit matters way, way more than that headline fee. Trap 2 is ignoring future scalability. Your platform has to handle tomorrow's complexity, not just the volume you're moving today. Third, poor last-minute integration planning. If you don't map out the journey from order creation all the way to freight payment right at the start, manual workarounds are going to breed like crazy. Fourth is confusing a polished, glossy sales demo with actual employee training. Your users need realistic scenarios, and they need time to practice for when things inevitably go off script. And finally, Trap 5. Skipping data cleanup. Things like old carrier rates, incomplete addresses, actually, scratch that, any bad data will instantly ruin the absolute best-laid optimization plans. Data cleanup is not some optional side task you can push off. It is the core of the entire project.
So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a question, just to really challenge your current operations. Take a hard, honest look at your supply chain and ask yourself, are you truly optimizing your logistics, or are you just automating confusion? It takes clean data, smart integrations, and well-trained users to really make this technology sing. But let me tell you, when you get it right, it will completely transform your business. Thank you so much for joining me today to unpack this completely fascinating topic, and I highly encourage you to go look at your own logistics processes through this brand new lens.